Story 1. The knock that knew my name. The deadbolt was still sliding into place when the knock hit again. 3 hard blows that made the whole door shudder in its frame. I froze with my palm on the metal thumb turn, feeling the vibration travel up my wrist. The hallway light behind me hummed with that faint electrical whine older apartment buildings always have. And in the silence between knocks, I could hear my upstairs neighbor's TV bleeding laughter through the ceiling. Sitcom laughter, canned and bright, like my building was pretending it wasn't 2 minutes past midnight. The peephole was a black coin in the center of the door. I leaned in anyway. At first, there was only the warped hallway, stretched and fish-eyed. Beige paint, a dull brown carpet runner, the elevator at the far end with its dented doors closed like eyelids. No one stood directly in front of my unit. Then a voice, close, just outside the door, slightly to the left, said, "Evan, open up," my name. I landed in my stomach like a dropped stone. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The air tasted metallic, like I'd bitten my tongue. I pressed my forehead to the door and tried to breathe quietly through my nose. The voice spoke again, softer, as if it had moved closer to the crack beneath the door. "Evan, I'm locked out." Locked out of what? This was an interior hallway. There was nothing to be locked out of except an apartment. And I knew every one of my neighbors by face, if not by name. The building was small enough that you eventually recognized everyone's shoes. My phone was in my hand. I didn't remember picking it up. The screen showed 12:07 a.m., the blue light making my fingers look bloodless. My thumb hovered over the keypad to dial 911, but my brain kept stalling on the same stupid question. What do you even say? Someone is outside my door and used my name. Someone is pretending to be. The knock came again. Not the same pattern. This time it was a scraping, deliberate sound, knuckles dragging down the wood. Slow, like a person counting the grain. Then, "Evan." My eyes stung. I realized I wasn't blinking. "Who are you?" My voice cracked on the last word. I hated that it sounded like a kid's. Silence. So complete I could hear the pipes in the wall ticking as they cooled. And then, from directly in front of the peephole, a face rose into view. It was too close, too centered. An eye, magnified by the peephole glass, stared straight into mine as if it could see through the distortion, as if the lens was only for me. The iris was gray and wet. The skin around it was smooth in a way that looked wrong under the hallway's yellow light, like wax warmed by a bulb. No lashes, no blinking. The mouth moved somewhere below the frame. I couldn't see it, but I heard it. "Open the door." I stepped back so fast my shoulder hit the wall. The phone slipped, bounced against my palm, and I clenched it harder, knuckles whitening. The voice wasn't angry. That was the worst part. It wasn't pleading either. It was flat, patient, like a GPS recalculating when you keep ignoring the route. I looked down the hallway through the peephole again. The face was gone. The hallway was empty. Elevator closed, no footsteps retreating, no shadow. I swallowed, and it felt like swallowing sand. I'd lived in that apartment, Unit 3B, for 6 months. It wasn't a bad place. Cheap, small, clean enough. I worked remote IT support for a dental chain, which meant my days were spent in a chair troubleshooting printers that refused to print and software that refused to open, listening to dentists get furious because they couldn't pull up patient charts. At the end of the day, I'd shut my laptop, eat something microwaved, and watch whatever show let my brain dissolve. I didn't do drama. I didn't do confrontation. I definitely didn't do mysterious midnight visitors. I checked the lock again anyway. Deadbolt. Chain. The chain was useless if someone forced the door, but it was something. My phone vibrated. An incoming text. Unknown number. Opened the door. For a second, my mind tried to rationalize. Wrong number. Scam. Prank. Someone in the building messing with me. Then another buzz. Unknown number. Evan. I stared at the letters. My name again, reduced to 4 pixels that felt like a hand on the back of my neck. I turned the phone over like it might burn me. The knock came again, this time gentle, almost polite. Tap, tap, tap. And then the voice, right against the wood. I can hear you breathing. My lungs seized. I clamped a hand over my mouth without thinking, like that would erase the sound that already existed. The building had one of those old-school intercom systems. Buzzer panel in the lobby, speaker by each unit. The sound quality was garbage. Half the buttons didn't work. But it meant the front entrance was supposed to be secure. You couldn't get in without a key or being buzzed in, unless someone followed someone else in, unless someone had a key, unless it wasn't someone. I forced my legs to move. I backed into my tiny living room, keeping my eyes on the door like it might suddenly become transparent. The windows faced the street, 3 floors up. A light rain speckled the glass, the street lamp outside casting watery gold on the wet pavement. Down below, a car idled at the curb with its headlights off. I couldn't tell if anyone was inside. My brain offered a dozen scenarios, and none of them helped. I called my friend Maya. She was the closest person to me in the city, not geographically. She lived 20 minutes away, but emotionally. We'd met in college, survived bad roommates and worse relationships, and somehow stayed in each other's lives through job changes and moving boxes. She picked up on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. Evan? What's wrong? There's someone outside my door, whispered like volume mattered through a phone. They know my name. There was a pause, and I heard her sit up. Are you serious? Yes, Maya, they're texting me. Call the cops. Okay, I'm going to, My eyes flicked to my door. It stood there like an accusation. It's not normal. What do you mean, not normal? The hallway outside was quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of the blood in your ears. I swallowed. They were at the peephole, like looking in. Maya's voice hardened. Call 911, now. Stay away from the door. Do you have anything like a bat? I looked around my living room. The closest thing to a weapon was a metal floor lamp and a kitchen knife. I have a chef's knife. Get it. Put something heavy in front of the door. Don't open it for anyone. I'm not going to open it, I snapped, too sharp, my fears spilling into anger, because anger felt better than helplessness. Okay, I'm staying on the phone with you. Dial 911 on the other line. I put her on speaker, ran to the kitchen, yanked open the drawer with my knives. My fingers fumbled around the handles until I grabbed the heaviest one, a wide-bladed chef's knife that suddenly felt like a toy. I returned to the living room and grabbed my phone again. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dialed 991. When the operator answered, her voice was calm in that practiced way, like calm was a uniform. I gave my address, my unit number, my name. I told her someone was outside my door and sending texts. Do you recognize the person? She asked. No, I haven't seen them. They were at the peephole. I saw an eye. An eye. That sounded insane. Do you see anyone in the hallway now? I approached the door again. Slower, knife held uselessly at my side. I leaned into the peephole. Empty hallway. No, I said, voice trembling. Officers are being dispatched, the operator said. Do not open the door. If you feel in immediate danger, move to a secure room. Maya, on speaker, said, "Bathroom. Lock it." The operator continued, "Do you have any reason to believe this person has a key to your building?" "I don't know," I said. "But..." I glanced at my phone. Another message had come in. "Unknown number. I'm inside already." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might vomit. "I just got a text," I said, and my voice went thin. "It says they're inside already." The operator's tone sharpened a fraction, like a blade being honed. "Inside your apartment?" "I don't know. I think inside the building. They're outside my door. They're texting. They said..." A sound interrupted me. Not a knock, a click. Metal on metal. The chain, my chain lock on my door, rattled softly, like someone was testing it from the outside. I stared at the chain. It didn't move much. Just a subtle vibration that made the little links tremble. Someone was pulling the door handle. Maya's voice spiked. "Evan, back up right now." I backed away until I hit the edge of my couch. The operator was asking me questions, but her words blurred. My focus narrowed to the door, to the chain, to the deadbolt that suddenly felt like a thin promise. The handle turned again. Slow. Deliberate. It stopped. Turned back. Stopped. Like someone was learning how it worked. Then the voice, low and close, came through the wood again. "Evan." My name sounded damp. "Your lock is new?" The voice continued, conversational. "You changed it." I hadn't told anyone I changed it. I changed it the first week I moved in because the previous tenant had been evicted, and that information had stuck to the apartment like a smell. I didn't want old keys floating around. Maya whispered, "How would they know that?" "I don't know," I whispered. Back, and I realized I was still on the phone with 911, still holding the knife, still standing in my own living room like it wasn't mine anymore. The doorknob stopped moving. Silence. I took one shaky breath. Then my phone buzzed again. "Unknown number." "Don't call anyone." I stared at the screen. My skin crawled. It felt like the air in the room had thickened, like humidity before a storm. The 911 operator said, "Sir, are you still there?" "Yes," I said. "They just texted me. They said don't call anyone." "Officers are en route," she repeated. "Do you have a safe place to go?" "The bathroom," Maya urged, louder now. I moved, still staring at the door, walking backward toward the hallway that led to my bedroom and bathroom. The knife in my hand kept wobbling like it was trying to escape. As I reached the hallway entrance, I heard a new sound. Not from my door, from inside my apartment. A faint creak from my bedroom. My whole body went cold in one rush, like someone had poured ice water down my spine. I lived alone. I hadn't had anyone over in days. My bedroom door was open. I could see the dark rectangle of it from where I stood. The closet beyond was a deeper dark. I stopped breathing without meaning to. The creak came again, slower, like weight shifting on floorboards. Maya said, "Evan, what's that?" My throat closed. "I think someone is in my apartment." The 911 operator's voice sharpened. "Sir, if you believe someone is inside your residence, you need to get to a secure location immediately. Lock yourself in the bathroom if possible." I backed toward the bathroom, but my eyes were locked on the bedroom doorway like it was a mouth. Another creak, then a soft sound like fabric brushing against a wall. The worst part wasn't the sound itself. It was the fact that it was familiar. My apartment had its own language, pipes, fridge hum, radiator clicks. This was new. This was a foreign syllable. I reached the bathroom door, grabbed the knob with a shaking hand, and pulled it open. And in that moment, from the hallway behind me, the front door handle turned again. A click. My deadbolt clicked. Not being tested. Unlocking. I spun so fast my shoulder clipped the wall. The deadbolt thumb turn on the inside rotated on its own, smooth as if a hand was turning it. For a fraction of a second, my brain refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. Deadbolts don't turn themselves. They don't. The thumb turn completed its rotation. The deadbolt slid back into the door with a quiet, final sound. Unlatched. The chain rattled once. I couldn't move. My body locked up, like fear had replaced my bones with wire. Maya screamed my name through the speaker. The 911 operator said something urgent I didn't register. Then the door began to open. Only an inch, stopped by the chain. The gap was a thin line of darkness. And through that gap, something pressed forward. Not a hand. A face. Skin pale under the hallway light, cheeks squishing slightly against the edge of the door, like someone trying to fit themselves through the crack. An eye rolled in the socket to look at me. It was the same gray, wet eye I'd seen through the peephole. The voice came out through the gap, muffled, intimate. You shouldn't have changed the lock. My mouth opened, but no sound came. The face shifted, pushing harder as if bone could bend. The chain strained, links pulled taut. The screws holding the chain plate into the door frame creaked. Then, from my bedroom, a new sound. A slow inhale. A breath. Close. I felt it. A faint movement of air against the back of my neck, like someone behind me had leaned in to smell me. Every hair on my arms rose. I didn't turn. Turning felt impossible. Like turning would make it real in a way it wasn't yet. The voice at the door whispered, "He's behind you." My vision tunneled. The bathroom door was open inches from my left hand. Salvation, if you could call it that. I lunged for it. My foot caught on the edge of the hallway rug, and for a terrifying instant, I stumbled, arms flailing. The knife slipped in my sweaty grip, clattered against the tile as I fell into the bathroom. I hit the floor hard on my hip, pain flashing white. I scrambled like an animal, hands clawing for the door. I slammed it shut and twisted the lock. On the other side, something moved. A shadow crossed under the gap. A soft knock came from inside the bathroom door. Tap, tap, tap. Not from the hallway outside my front door, from the bathroom side, from inside my apartment hallway. My skin went numb. The 911 operator's voice came through my phone, which I dropped on the bathroom floor but was still connected. "Sir, are you in a safe location?" Maya was sobbing, saying my name over and over like a prayer. I picked up the phone with trembling fingers and pressed it to my ear. "There's someone outside the bathroom," I whispered, "and someone at the front door." The knocking came again, gentle, almost patient. A voice, different from the one at the front door, spoke through the bathroom wood. It sounded like a man trying to mimic calm. "Evan? Hey, it's me. Open up." My stomach rolled. Who is me? A pause. Then, It's Mr. Halpern, building manager." Mr. Halpern was my building manager. Late 50s, always smelled like peppermint gum, wore the same navy jacket even in summer. He did not sound like this. "You don't sound like him," I said, and my voice came out higher than I wanted, a strangled squeak. The voice chuckled softly, not cruelly, like someone amused at a child's guess. People sound different at night. From the front door, a slam, hard enough that it shook the bathroom mirror. The chain had held. but not comfortably. Then the first voice, the flat one, carried down the iced apartment hallway as if the front door gap had widened. Evan, bathroom, left side of hall. It was narrating my location like a dispatcher. The Halpern voice right outside the bathroom door said, "He told you." My breath came in short, painful gulps. The bathroom suddenly felt tiny, airless. I could smell bleach from the cleaner I used on the sink, and underneath it, my own sweat, sharp, sour. The doorknob to the bathroom turned, slowly. The lock held for a second. Then the knob kept turning. The lock clicked as if someone had a key. My whole body went rigid. The bathroom lock was a simple privacy lock. Twist button, not keyed. There wasn't supposed to be any way to open it from outside, except with a coin or screwdriver in the little slot. But the knob turned anyway. The door moved a fraction. I screamed then. Full-throated, primal. It felt like tearing something out of my chest. The door opened an inch and stopped, because I'd thrown my body against it. I pressed my shoulder and cheek into the wood, bracing. My bare feet slid on the tile. The other side pushed back, steady pressure like a hydraulic arm. No jerking, no panic, just inexorable force. The 911 operator's voice was in my ear, urgent now. "Sir, officers are arriving. Stay on the line. Do not open the door." "I'm not opening it," I cried, and my voice cracked. The pushing increased. My shoulder burned. The muscles in my legs screamed. I could feel the door flex against the frame. The latch plate groaned. Then the pressure stopped. So suddenly I almost fell forward. The quiet after was worse. It made my ears ring. I waited, panting, forehead against the door, saliva pooling in my mouth. A whisper came through the gap again, right against my ear. "Evan, listen." I didn't want to. I did anyway because my brain hates not knowing. The whisper continued. "There's someone knocking on your front door. A police officer. You can hear him." And then, like the whisper had pulled a curtain back, I heard it. A knock from my front door. Not the scratchy, intimate knocks from before. A firm, official knock. A man's voice, muffled by distance. "Police department. Evan Carter, are you in there?" Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. I tasted salt. Tears I hadn't realized were running. "Yes," I shouted. "I'm in the bathroom, please." The whisper at the bathroom door interrupted, soft and quick. "Don't answer that." My mouth clamped shut. The police voice at the front door called again. "Evan Carter, come to the door." Maya was crying on speaker. "That's them, Evan, that's them." But the whisper at the bathroom door said, with the same calm certainty as before, "He can't help you." A new sound drifted down the hallway. Footsteps, heavy, booted steps, the kind a cop would have. My heart stuttered. They were inside? How? Then the footsteps stopped, outside my bathroom door. A knock, firm, official, came on the bathroom wood. "Evan?" a man's voice said, close now. "Police, open the door." My brain short-circuited. 2 cops, one at the front door, one already in my hallway. Unless the first one wasn't real, unless the second one wasn't. My mouth went dry. I pictured opening the door to a uniform, a badge, safety. I pictured the other voice laughing. I pictured the chain snapping. I pictured... The police voice outside the bathroom door tried again. "Evan, I need you to open up so I can see you're okay." Something about the tone was off. Too smooth, too rehearsed. Like someone had practiced the sentence in a mirror. I pressed my ear to the door, listening for other sounds. Radio chatter, rustling gear, anything. Nothing. Just breathing. Slow. Controlled. Right outside. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. If you open it, you won't die tired. I stared at the words until they blurred. That phrase didn't even make sense. It felt like a wrong proverb, a mistranslation, like something wearing language the way a person wears a coat that doesn't fit. The bathroom doorknob turned again, not forcing, testing. And then, quietly, the police voice said, "I can pick this lock. I'd rather you opened it." My lungs squeezed. From somewhere outside my apartment, down the hallway, I heard a real commotion. Voices, multiple, overlapping. The elevator dinged. Someone shouted, "Police, show me your hands." My whole body surged with hope. Real, messy, chaotic sound. Not the controlled, intimate whispering. This sounded like reality. But the voice outside my bathroom door sighed, almost disappointed. "They're here." The doorknob stopped. The footsteps moved away. Slow and unhurried, like whoever was in my hallway wasn't afraid of the police at all. I listened to it retreat toward my living room, then toward my front door. Then silence. The shouting outside grew louder. I heard my front door being hit hard, like someone trying to force it, and Mr. Halpern's muffled voice somewhere beyond, panicked, saying, "He won't answer. He said someone's in there." A crash, the chain finally ripping free. I flinched so hard my neck cramped. A man's voice, real, rough, called, "Evan, where are you?" I sobbed. "Bathroom?" Footsteps thundered down my hallway. The bathroom door shook with a heavy knock. "Evan, it's Officer Delgado. You called 911. Can you unlock the door?" His voice wasn't smooth. It had breath in it. It had urgency and irritation and life. My hands fumbled with the lock. I threw it open. 2 officers stood there. Real uniforms, real belts heavy with gear. One held a flashlight that painted hard white light across my bathroom tiles. The other had his hand near his holster, eyes scanning past me like he expected something to leap out of my shower curtain. "Are you hurt?" Officer Delgado asked. I shook my head so hard it hurt. "Someone was here. My front door, someone." "We're clearing the apartment," the second officer said, already moving past me. They went room to room, closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. They checked the windows, the fire escape. They checked everywhere a human could reasonably hide. They found nothing. No one. No forced entry besides the chain ripped from my doorframe, screws torn out like teeth. No footprints, no broken glass. Officer Delgado stood in my living room with his notepad, asking me to repeat everything. The knocks, the texts, the peephole eye, the deadbolt turning. He listened without interrupting, but I could see the flicker in his expression, the subtle shift between concern and skepticism. "Do you have any enemies?" he asked. "No." "Any exes? Anyone you've had issues with?" "No." "You sure you didn't maybe fall asleep and dream some of this?" His voice stayed polite, but the implication stung. Maya had arrived by then, hair wild, shoes untied. She squeezed my hand until my fingers ached. "He didn't dream it," she snapped. "I was on the phone. I heard the voices." Delgado nodded, but his eyes were already sliding away, looking for something that made sense. They left around 1:10 a.m., after telling me to call if anything else happened. They suggested I stay with a friend for the night. Maya insisted I come with her. I couldn't stop looking at my front door, at the mangled chain plate, at the torn wood where it had been anchored. It looked like my apartment had been bitten. Before I left, I grabbed my laptop and my phone charger with shaking hands. I didn't pack clothes. I didn't turn off lights. I just wanted out. Maya drove with one hand on the wheel and one on my shoulder at red lights, grounding me. Her apartment smelled like detergent and basil. She sat me on her couch, wrapped me in a throw blanket, and made tea I couldn't drink because my stomach kept lurching. I didn't sleep. Every time my eyes closed, I saw that gray eye in the peephole. Unblinking. Wet. Around 3:30 a.m., Maya dozed off beside me, head tilted back, mouth slightly open. The TV played low, some late-night infomercial selling knives that could cut through a shoe. The irony wasn't funny. My phone sat on the coffee table, face down, silent. At 3:41 a.m., it buzzed. I flipped it over. Unknown number. Good choice, leaving my blood turned to ice. Another buzz immediately. Unknown number. Your door was never locked. I stared at the screen until my vision tunneled again. Then the final message came. Unknown number. You opened it anyway. I didn't understand. My brain tried to reject it. But the living room lights flickered once, subtle, almost normal. And from somewhere deeper in Maya's apartment, down the short hallway where her bedroom door stood half closed, I heard a soft, patient knock. Tap, tap, tap. Maya didn't wake up. I sat perfectly still, unable to breathe, staring at her hallway as the knocking repeated, slow as a heartbeat, and a voice I recognized, flat, intimate, already inside, whispered my name from behind her bedroom door. Story 2. The package that wasn't on the camera. I had the chain on and the door cracked 2 inches when the voice outside whispered, "Don't turn on the lights, Natalie. They'll see." My fingers tightened on the chain, like it was a lifeline. The hallway beyond my peephole view was mostly dark. Our building's motion sensor lights had burned out weeks ago, and the landlord kept saying he'd get around to it. The only illumination came from the exit sign at the stairwell, a sick green glow that made the carpet look bruised. "Who is this?" I asked, keeping my mouth close to the gap so my roommate wouldn't hear. A soft exhale, like someone smiling right outside. "You can't talk. Loud. You know you can't." The thing was, they were right. Because my roommate Tessa slept like a rock until she didn't. When she woke up swinging. Trauma response from an ex who liked to check if she was home by banging on our bedroom door at night. We'd agreed. No opening the front door after midnight. Ever. If someone needed us, they could call. If they couldn't call, it wasn't safe. And yet here I was, at 12:18 a.m., with my bare feet on cold laminate, the chain taut, breathing through my teeth like I was hiding from a predator. "Tell me your name," I said. The voice said, "You don't want my name. You want what I brought." Something scraped softly against the floor outside. Cardboard, like a package being nudged into position. I glanced back toward the living room. Our couch was a dark lump. The TV was off. Tessa's bedroom door was shut. The kitchen clock glowed faint red, 12:18. The voice added, almost tender, "It's for you. You've been waiting." "I haven't ordered anything," I said. But my words sounded thin, like I was arguing with the ocean. The hallway smelled damp through the crack, like wet concrete and old dust. Then a new smell threaded in, sweet, synthetic, like the plastic aisle at a craft store. "Look down," the voice said. My hand trembled as I lowered my gaze to the narrow opening under the chain. A box sat there on the hallway carpet. Medium-sized, taped neatly, the top marked with a strip of black tape. No shipping label, no return address, just the tape, glossy in the dim light. My stomach tightened. I don't know why I didn't shut the door immediately. I wish I could say I was brave or curious or stupid. The truth is uglier. The voice sounded like it knew me the way a memory knows you. Like it had been listening to my life for a long time and finally decided to participate. "I'm calling the police," I whispered. The voice didn't change. "That's not what you do when a gift arrives." I swallowed. "Who are you?" The pause lasted just long enough for my brain to fill it with the worst possibilities. Then the voice said, very softly, "I'm the reason you keep checking the peephole." My throat went tight. Because that was true. For weeks, I'd had this creeping habit. Coming home, locking the door, then checking the peephole again 5 minutes later. Sometimes twice. Like I expected to catch someone standing there, perfectly still, waiting for me to notice. It had started after the first incident. The first time the knock had come at 12:03 a.m. 3 taps, polite. I'd assumed it was a neighbor. I'd looked through the peephole and seen nothing. Still, the tapping continued, moving slightly around the door as if the knuckles were searching for the right spot. I hadn't opened it. I'd gone back to bed. In the morning, there'd been a small smear on the peephole glass, like someone had pressed something against it. The mark had been too circular, too centered, as if whatever touched it was designed to fit. I'd wiped it off and tried not to think about how it looked like the ring left by suction. Now, standing in my dim entryway, with a mystery box on the other side of the chain, I felt that same pressure in my chest, that same certainty that something was testing me. The voice said, "Take it inside." "I'm not opening the door," I said. A faint laugh, just breath. "You already did." My pulse punched my ribs. I tried to pull the door closed, just to end the conversation. But the chain caught and the door halted in that 2-inch gap. The box sat perfectly aligned with it, like it had been measured. The voice went on. "Slide it in. Don't be dramatic." Slide it in. That was the worst suggestion, because it made sense. Because it was the kind of compromise you make when you're trying to feel safe, while you're actually negotiating with fear. I crouched, slowly, keeping my face away from the crack, and reached my fingers toward the box. The voice whispered, "That's it." My fingertips brushed the cardboard. It was warm, not room temperature warm, not heated hallway warm. Warm like it had been held against a body. I snatched my hand back like it had bitten me. The voice sighed. "You're always like this. You touch the stove and act surprised." My eyes watered from sheer adrenaline. "Stop talking like you know me." "I do know you," it said. "You bite the inside of your cheek when you're trying not to cry." I went still. Because I was doing that, I tasted blood. I stood up so fast I almost fell and slammed the door shut, chain rattling. The deadbolt clicked as I turned it, hard, twice, like extra force would make it more real. For a second, the apartment was silent except for my own breath. I stood there with my back against the door, heart sprinting. Then my phone buzzed on the little entry table. I didn't remember putting it there. Screen lit up. A notification from our security camera app. Front door motion detected. We'd installed a cheap door cam 2 months ago after someone broke into the laundry room downstairs. It was a peephole camera that fed to an app. Grainy video, delayed alerts, but better than nothing. My hands shook as I grabbed the phone. The app opened to a live view of the hallway outside our unit. The hallway was empty, no box, no person, no shadow. Just the carpet runner, the scuffed baseboards, and the dark mouth of the stairwell at the far end. I stared, blinking hard, willing the image to change. It didn't. The motion alert timestamp blinked, 12:18 a.m. I turned my head toward the actual door, then back to the screen. Nothing. But I could still smell that synthetic sweetness, like plastic and sugar, seeping in under the door. My phone buzzed again. Text message. Unknown number. Your camera doesn't like me. My fingers went numb. Another message immediately. Unknown number. Open the door, Natalie. I backed away from the door like it was hot. My gaze darted to Tessa's bedroom door. Still closed, no movement, no light under it. I couldn't wake her, not yet. Not until I understood what was happening. That was my instinct. Control the situation first, then involve someone else. The instinct that gets you into trouble because you think you can outthink something that isn't playing by rules. The handle on the front door turned, just once, slowly, then stopped. I didn't hear footsteps, didn't hear the chain. Just that quiet, deliberate turn like someone testing whether my locks were real or just decorative. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You have 3 locks. You feel proud. A third message. Unknown number. Locks are for people. I stood there, knifeless, stupidly empty-handed. My eyes flicked to the kitchen. I could grab a knife. I could grab the pepper spray in my purse. I could. The front door shook once. Not a slam. A soft impact, like a shoulder leaning into it. Then a whisper came through the door, so close it felt like it was inside the wood. Natalie, I can't leave the package out here. Someone will take it. I pressed my hands to my ears. It didn't help. The voice was too close. It wasn't traveling through air. It felt like it was traveling through my bones. My phone vibrated again, but this time it wasn't a text. It was a call. Caller ID, Tessa. My breath caught. Tessa was asleep. Her phone was on her nightstand. She wouldn't be calling me from 10 feet away. I stared at the screen until it stopped ringing. It rang again. Tessa. I felt cold crawl up my arms. A third ring. Then it went to voicemail. Immediately, my phone lit up with a new voicemail notification, like the message had been left instantly, without time to record. I tapped it before my brain could stop me. And I heard Tessa's voice. Not a recording of her answering machine voice. Tessa's actual voice, tight with fear, whispering into a phone. Natalie, it said, don't open the door, don't, there's someone. The message cut off with a wet click. My stomach dropped into my knees. I spun toward Tessa's bedroom door. It was still shut, no sounds from inside. I moved toward it, slow, as if speed would trigger something. My hand reached for the knob. The voice at the front door whispered, amused, checking on her? I yanked my hand back like the knob was electrified. The voice said, if you open her door, you'll wake her. That shouldn't have been frightening. It was reasonable. But it sounded like a warning, like a rule. I hated rules I didn't understand. My phone buzzed with another text. Unknown number. She's safer asleep. I stared at the words until they blurred. What do you want? I whispered, not caring anymore about volume. A beat. Then, I want you to remember what you did. My skin prickled. I don't know what you're talking about. The voice chuckled softly. Of course you don't. You're very good at not knowing. The apartment felt suddenly unfamiliar, like the walls had shifted a few inches while I wasn't looking. The air was too warm. My tongue felt thick. I backed into the living room, eyes locked on the front door. The couch loomed. The hallway to the bedrooms looked like a throat. I grabbed my purse from the chair by the entryway and fumbled for the pepper spray. My fingers found it, cold cylinder, and I wrapped my hand around it like it could ward off a voice. I pulled up the camera app again. Empty hallway. But the motion alert kept triggering, every few seconds, pinging my phone like something was moving right outside. The app showed nothing. My phone buzzed with another text. Unknown number. Turn on the hallway light. There was no hallway light. Not outside. Inside, in our entry, we had a little lamp on a table. I stared at it. The lamp was off. The text came again. Unknown number. Turn it on. No. I didn't want to do anything it asked. But my body, stupid and shaking, reached for the lamp switch anyway, like the instruction had been planted in my muscles. The lamp clicked on. Warm yellow light filled the entryway, spilling across the door. And the smell got stronger. Sweet plastic, like a new toy pulled from packaging. The door cam notification pinged again. This time, the live view glitched. Static lines rolled down the screen like rain. Then, for a single frame, the hallway outside wasn't empty. Something stood inches from our door. Not a clear figure, more like a vertical smear of darkness. Too tall, too narrow, like a shadow forced to stand upright. Where a face should have been, there was a pale oval, featureless except for a single dark spot centered where an eye might be. Then the feed snapped back to empty hallway. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor and skittered under the entry table. My breath came out in a broken sound. From behind me, in the living room, the TV turned on. I hadn't touched the remote. The screen lit the room with blue-white light, cycling through channels too fast to follow. Snatches of sound, game show applause, a preacher shouting, a weather forecast, blurred into a dizzying roar. Then the channel stopped. A home video played. It took my brain a second to recognize it because of the low resolution and the way it filled the whole screen. But I knew that kitchen. I knew those yellow cabinets. I knew the chipped mug on the counter. It was my childhood home. The video showed a girl, me, at maybe 9, standing on tiptoes to reach the counter. My hair was pulled back in a crooked ponytail. I was grinning, holding up something to the camera. A small cardboard box, black tape on top. My stomach twisted. The TV speakers crackled, and a voice, my own, younger, said, "It's for you." The Yorhead. Camera angle shifted. The person filming moved closer. A hand entered frame, reaching for the box. Then the video jolted as the hand touched it. The box slid away, too fast, like it had been yanked. The girl me frowned, confused. The video cut. The TV went black. My living room flooded with the reflection of my own face, pale, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. A ghost staring back. I stumbled backward until my knees hit the couch. The front door knocked again. Tap, tap, tap. The voice whispered through the wood, satisfied. "There you are." I couldn't speak. My throat had locked. The voice continued. "You took it that night. You didn't mean to, but you did." My childhood memory rose like something dredged from a swamp, murky, half-formed. A sleepover at my cousin's, a box on a porch, me touching it. My cousin crying later because it had been for someone else. Adults arguing. My mother saying, "It's just a box, Natalie." Me feeling sick, like I'd swallowed guilt whole. I'd forgotten it, buried it, labeled it unimportant. But this voice had kept it, like a receipt. The doorknob rattled. My phone buzzed from under the table, muffled. "Unknown number. Bring it back," my teeth chattered. "Back where?" The voice answered immediately. To me. I shook my head hard. "No." The voice sighed, almost bored. "Then open the door and take it." The door handle turned again. I heard the deadbolt click, just once, a subtle shift. I spun toward the lock. It hadn't moved. It was still turned to locked. But the sound had been real. Metal, mechanism, like something pretending to unlock it. The front door knocked, harder. Then, from Tessa's bedroom, a soft knock answered. 3 taps from behind her door. I went cold. Because that knock wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from inside her room. Tessa didn't knock from inside her own room. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. The knock came, again from behind her door. 3 taps, polite. Then Tessa's voice, muffled, sleepy. "Nat, is someone here?" Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. She was awake. She was alive. And then the voice at the front door said, quiet and pleased, "Now we can start." My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, answer it. Tessa's bedroom door handle turned just a little. I heard her shift, the creak of her bed. "Nat," she called again, louder now. "Why's the TV on?" I forced my legs to move. I rushed to her door and pressed my palm against it, holding it shut without meaning to. "Tessa," I whispered. "Stay in there." "What?" Her voice sharpened. "Natalie, what is going on?" The front door knocked again, louder, and the sound traveled down the apartment like a pulse. Tessa's door jerked as she tried to open it. "Natalie, let go." "Don't come out," I hissed, panic making my voice ugly. Just lock it." There was a pause. Then, "Are you serious?" "Yes." My phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You can't protect her." The front door handle rattled, harder now, like impatience. The chain on the inside trembled. I realized with a sick lurch that I'd never latched the chain after slamming the door earlier. In my panic, I'd turned the deadbolt, but the chain, our never after midnight chain, was hanging loose. I stared at it. The chain swung slightly, as if someone had nudged the door from outside. My hand left Tessa's door. I moved toward the front door in a slow, numb walk. Pepper spray still clenched, feeling like every step was me agreeing to something. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then the voice whispered, intimate, right behind the wood. "Now." I reached for the chain. My fingers touched the cold metal. And behind me, in the hallway, Tessa screamed. A sharp, sudden scream that ripped through the apartment like a siren. "Tessa!" I spun. Her door was open, not wide, just cracked. A dark gap. Her hand was visible through it, fingers splayed on the edge of the doorframe as if she'd tried to pull it shut. And from inside her room, something moved. Slow, deliberate, like a person stepping into view without making a sound. Tessa's voice came again, strangled. "Natalie, there's a box." My stomach dropped. A box. Medium-sized. Black tape. I couldn't see it from where I stood, but I could imagine it perfectly. The voice at the front door whispered, delighted. 2 deliveries. My feet carried me toward Tessa's room before my brain caught up. Pepper spray raised, useless. My mouth tasted like pennies. "Tessa, get out," I said, trying to sound steady and failing. "Come to me." She didn't move. Her hand trembled on the doorframe. "I can't," she whispered. It's on my bed." The air in the hallway felt thicker, warmer. The sweet plastic smell intensified, like something had been unwrapped. I stepped closer. The gap in Tessa's doorway widened slightly, like the door was being pushed from inside. And then I saw it. Not the box. A hand. Pale, too smooth, fingers long and slightly bent, resting on the inside edge of the door like it owned it. It wasn't grabbing. It wasn't forcing. It was waiting. The fingers tapped gently on the wood. 3 polite knocks. Tap, tap, tap. Tessa made a sound like she was trying not to vomit. I raised the pepper spray and aimed at the gap. My thumb hovered over the trigger. The hand withdrew, slowly, as if it didn't care. From the front door, the deadbolt clicked again, this time unmistakably turning. I whipped my head around. The thumb turn rotated a fraction on its own, then stopped, like something testing the boundary between pretending and doing. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You opened the first one when you were 9. Another message. Unknown number. Open this one now. I stood between Tessa's cracked doorway and our front door, feeling like the apartment had become a hallway in a trap. Tessa, I said, voice shaking. Call 911. I don't have my phone, she whispered. It's on the dresser. Natalie, I can't go back in. My own phone was under the entry table. I could grab it. But moving felt like choosing a door, and both doors felt wrong. The voice at the front door whispered, almost affectionate. Choose. The hand appeared again in Tessa's doorway, resting there like a bookmark. 3 taps. Then, from inside Tessa's room, a voice, Tessa's voice, said, calm and clear. Natalie, open the front door. It's okay. Tessa, standing behind her own doorframe, whispered, That's not me. My blood ran cold, because it sounded exactly like her, down to the little lilt at the end of okay she always used when she wanted to soothe me. The voice in her room continued, still using her tone. Open it. I can see the hallway. There's no one there. The front door voice whispered, amused. She's helping. Tessa's eyes were wide, glassy. Natalie, please, don't listen. The Tessa voice from inside her room said, sharper now, like irritation slipping through. Open it. The TV in the living room flashed on again, blasting white noise. The sound punched the air, making my head throb. The front door deadbolt turned another fraction. I ran for my phone, diving to the floor, arm reaching under the entry table. My fingers found it and yanked it out, screen already lit from constant alerts. My hands were slippery with sweat, but I managed to hit emergency call. It rang once, twice. Then the line went dead. Not busy, not voicemail, just a hollow click. My phone screen displayed, call failed. I stared at it, stunned. Unknown number texted immediately. No outside calls. My breath came in short, painful bursts. In the hallway, the hand in hush, Tessa's doorway tapped again, patient, like it had all night. The front door clicked. This time the deadbolt fully retracting, unlocked. The doorknob turned. The door began to open. I screamed, scrambling to my feet, and threw my body against it just as the edge moved. The door hit my shoulder like a punch. I shoved back, muscles straining, and slammed it shut again. But I felt it. The pressure from the other side. Not a person pushing randomly. A steady force, like something that knew exactly how much strength to apply to make me tire. The voice at the crack whispered, satisfied. That's it. Hold it. I braced, feet sliding on the laminate. My shoulder burned. Tears ran down my face, hot and humiliating. Behind me, Tessa whimpered. Natalie. I couldn't look away from the door. The voice whispered, You're strong. You always were. My phone buzzed again in my hand. Unknown number. Your parents never believed you. The words hit something deep in me. The childhood memory again. The box on the porch. The adults dismissing me. My mother telling me not to make things up. I screamed again, rage this time, raw. I'm not a kid, the voice outside said, almost gently. Prove it. The pressure increased. The door edge pushed into my shoulder. The hinges groaned. My feet slid another inch. Something inside me snapped. Not sanity, but the last thread of polite fear. I let go. Not fully. I stepped back just enough for the door to swing inward a few inches. The hallway beyond was dark. Empty. No box. No person. But the sweet plastic smell poured in like a cloud. My skin crawled. I raised the pepper spray and aimed into the darkness, thumb poised. The air in the doorway shimmered slightly, like heat over asphalt. Not visually obvious, more a wrongness, like my eyes couldn't focus because there was nothing human to focus on. A whisper came from the threshold itself, not from the hallway. "Good," it said. "Now look down." I didn't want to. I did anyway. The box sat on my welcome mat. Medium-sized, black tape, no label. And on top of the tape, pressed into the glossy surface like a fingerprint, was a small circle mark, perfectly round, centered, like suction. My stomach lurched. "Tessa," I choked without turning. "Don't come closer." "I'm not," she whispered. The box moved, not slid. It flexed slightly, like something inside shifted its weight. I gagged, stepping back, pepper spray trembling in my hand. The voice whispered, pleased. "Open it." "No," I said, voice breaking. "Take it back." The voice asked, calm as a bedtime story, "Where's back, Natalie?" The box flexed again. From Tessa's room, the Tessa voice said sweetly, "Open it. It's for you." Tessa sobbed, hands over her mouth. I did the only thing my brain could offer. Something active, something desperate. I grabbed the box. It was warm. Warmer than before. Like skin. I screamed and hurled it toward the open front door with all my strength. It sailed into the dark hallway and landed with a dull thud on the carpet runner. For a second, everything went still. Then the box slid. Not pushed. Dragged, smoothly, back over the threshold. It came to rest on my mat again, perfectly centered. My knees weakened. The voice whispered, amused, "You don't throw away what you stole." The front door began to close on its own, slow as a curtain falling. I lunged forward and tried to keep it open, but the air itself felt heavy, resisting me. The door shut anyway, clicking softly into place. Locked. I stared at the deadbolt thumb turn. It rotated by itself, locked from the inside. We were sealed in. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Midnight is over, another message. Unknown number. Now it's yours. The TV went silent. The apartment became so quiet, I could hear Tessa's breathing like paper tearing. The box sat on, the mat warm and waiting, and the black tape looked darker in the lamplight, like a closed eyelid. I backed away from it, shaking, every instinct screaming not to touch it again. Behind me, Tessa whispered, "Natalie, what if we just don't?" I opened my mouth to answer. But the box made a tiny sound, not a flex, a soft, muffled knock from inside. Tap, tap, tap. And in the exact cadence of the front door knock that started all of this, a voice from within the cardboard, small, childlike, perfectly matching my 9-year-old voice from the home video, whispered, "It's for you." Story 3. The officer who wouldn't show his badge. The man in the police uniform leaned into my doorframe and smiled like we were sharing a joke. And I realized, too late, that I'd already unlatched the chain. His boot was across my threshold, not stepping in, not forcing, just present, like a punctuation mark I couldn't erase. His flashlight stayed pointed down, but the beam caught the toe of my slipper and made it look pale and exposed. "Evening, Mr. Holloway," he said. "Sorry to wake you." My brain snagged on the words. Evening, like it wasn't 12:46 a.m. Like normal people open doors to cops after midnight without their stomach dropping through the floor. I kept my hand on the chain anyway, fingers curled around the loose metal. The chain felt suddenly stupid, thin links against the idea of authority. "What's this about?" I asked. The man didn't answer right away. He glanced past my shoulder into my apartment with a casual professional sweep. That look every cop does in movies. Fast inventory, doors, hallways, where you'd hide. His eyes lingered on the dark square of my bedroom entrance, just a fraction too long. Then he said, "We got a call from this unit. Possible disturbance." "I didn't call," I said. His smile didn't change. "Happens all the time. Pocket dial, accidental, or neighbors calling. About noises." I almost laughed because my apartment was silent. No TV, no music. The only noise was the refrigerator cycling and my own heartbeat thudding against my ribs. "Can I see your badge?" I asked. His head tilted, like I'd asked him to recite a poem. "Sure." He made no move to show it. I waited, still holding the chain, still keeping the door cracked only enough to see him. The hallway behind him was dim, lit by a flickering sconce that made the paint look jaundiced. A damp smell rose from the carpet, like mop water left too long. A second figure stood a few feet down the hall, half hidden by the stairwell shadow. Too still, too quiet. The officer's voice softened. "You live alone, Mr. Holloway?" My throat tightened. "Yes." "Name's Officer Rains," he said. "Mind if I step in and take a quick look around? Just to make sure everything's okay." "Show me your badge first," I repeated. His smile widened a hair, but something behind it cooled, like a screen dimming. "You already saw the uniform." "That's not a badge." He sighed, the sound careful and controlled. "All right, badge. Here you go." He reached toward his chest. My eyes locked on his hand. His fingers pinched the fabric of his shirt where a badge should be clipped, and pulled. The fabric stretched, lifted, but there was nothing there. No metal, no clip, just cloth. He let go and the shirt snapped back into place. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he said, still smiling, "There. Happy?" My mouth went dry. "No." The second figure down the hall shifted, a subtle movement, like a person adjusting their stance. The light caught something pale where a face might be. Then it was gone again in shadow. Officer Rains leaned closer, lowering his voice the way someone does when they want to sound reassuring. "Mr. Holloway, I'm trying to help you." The air in my doorway felt colder. Not temperature. Cold. Pressure cold. Like when the inside of a freezer breathes out. "I didn't call," I said again, more firmly. "And I'm not letting you in." He blinked slowly. "Why not?" "Because you aren't a cop. Because your badge is imaginary. Because there's someone else in the hallway, and I can't hear them breathing." But the words that came out were smaller. "Because I don't have to." He nodded like he'd expected that. "Okay." Then, very gently, he put his gloved hand on the edge of my door and pushed. Not hard, not forcing, just pressing the door inward like we were negotiating space. My hand tightened on the chain. "Stop." He didn't. The chain links tightened. I felt the screws in the wall strain. He smiled. "You know what I like about chain locks?" My stomach flipped. "Back off." He spoke softly, like he was teaching. "They make a sound when they break. It tells you exactly when you lose." The second figure down the hall began to walk toward us. No footsteps, just motion, like the hallway itself was shifting. My body went hot and cold at the same time. I yanked the door shut. The chain rattled violently as it caught, and I slammed the deadbolt with shaking fingers. The lock clacked into place like a final decision. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then a knock, polite, measured, came through the wood. Tap, tap, tap. Officer Raines's voice slipped through the door, as if the door wasn't solid. "Mr. Holloway, please reopen the door." I backed away until my calves hit the edge of my couch. My apartment suddenly felt too open, too many corners, too many rooms. My phone lay face up on the coffee table, charging cable snaking like a vein. I snatched it up and dialed 911. It rang once, twice. Then a woman answered, crisp. 911, what's your emergency? Relief punched me so hard I almost cried. There's someone outside my door. He says he's a police officer, but he doesn't have a badge. I think he's impersonating. The woman cut in, still professional. Sir, what is your address? I gave it. Building, unit, everything. Her tone didn't change, but it got flatter. You said an officer is at your door? Yes. Can you describe him? I swallowed. Mid-30s, maybe? White male, dark hair, uniform. There was a pause long enough for my skin to prickle. Then she said carefully, Sir, do you see the officer's patrol car? I hesitated. My windows faced the courtyard, not the street. No. Do you hear a radio? No. The knock came again. Tap, tap, tap. The voice outside the door said calmer now. Mr. Holloway, I can hear you talking. Tell dispatch I'm already here. My blood iced over. I whispered into the phone. He can hear me. The dispatcher's voice softened like she was trying to soothe a child. Sir, stay on the line. Do not open the door. Officers are being... The call dropped. Not a click, not a fade. Just dead silence. My screen flashed. Call ended. I stared at it in disbelief, thumb smashing redial. No service. I had full bars 5 minutes ago. I lived in the city. My building didn't have dead zones. Now the top of my screen showed SOS like I'd been dropped into the ocean. Another knock, harder. Then the voice, closer to the wood. Phones don't work after midnight if someone says they don't. My mouth went numb. I backed toward my kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I owned, and held it in front of me like it could cut sound. The peephole was there, small and accusing. I forced myself to look. The hallway was warped and dim. Officer Raines stood right in front of my door, head tilted slightly, smiling up into the peephole like he knew exactly where my eye would be. Behind him, the second figure stood closer now, just off to the side. It wore a uniform, too. At least, the shape suggested one. Dark, fabric, belt line, the idea of a badge. But where its face should be, there was something like a blank pale oval, smooth and featureless, reflecting the hallway light as if it were slightly wet. I jerked away from the peephole, gagging on my own breath. Officer Raines's voice carried through the door, almost bored. You looked. My hands shook so badly the knife tip traced little circles in the air. I had moved into this apartment because it was cheap and close to the hospital. I worked as a night respiratory therapist, 12-hour shifts, lots of alarms, lots of people not breathing right. My sleep schedule was wrecked. Midnight was just a marker on a clock, not a bedtime. But at home, behind my locks, I had routines. Safe ones, predictable ones. And the biggest routine was, if someone knocked after midnight, I didn't answer. Tonight I broke it because he'd said police, and my brain had obeyed the word the way people obey sirens. Now, behind my door, 2 Uniforms waited. The knock came again, this time not with knuckles, with something metal. A gentle, rhythmic tapping like a ring against wood. Officer Raines said, "If you don't open up, we'll have to enter for a welfare check." I swallowed. "Get a warrant." He laughed softly. "That's adorable." The tapping became faster, like impatience. Then the voice changed, subtle but enough to make my stomach turn. It sounded like my downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Klein, a retired teacher who always brought me cookies in tin boxes and called me dear in a way that made me miss my grandmother. "Mr. Holloway?" the voice said through the door, worried. "It's Mrs. Klein. Are you okay? They said you called." I froze. No. Because Mrs. Klein didn't know my first name. She always called me Mr. H. And she didn't sound like she did when she'd just woken up. She sounded too composed, too clean. I stepped to the peephole again, unable to stop myself. Officer Raines was still there, smiling. And beside him, the blank-faced uniform moved its head slightly, as if listening. Then, from behind it, impossible, wrong, I heard Mrs. Klein's actual voice, faint and muffled, coming from farther down the hallway. "Hello," she called, confused. "Is someone out there?" My stomach dropped through the floor. So she was out there. Somewhere. Which meant the voice at my door wasn't her. Officer Raines spoke in his normal voice again, cheerful. "She's out of her apartment. Isn't that interesting?" My throat closed. "Leave her alone." He leaned closer to the peephole, so close I could see pores distorted by the glass. "Then open the door and we'll leave." The blank-faced uniform lifted its hand and pressed it flat to my door. The wood creaked. I felt the pressure through the door like a palm on my chest. Then I heard something new, coming from inside my apartment. A soft click from my bedroom. My bedroom door opening. I didn't move. I couldn't. My eyes stayed on the front door, as if looking away would invite something else to step forward. The bedroom door creaked wider. A slow, deliberate sound, like someone taking their time. Officer Raines whispered through the door, delighted. "He's inside already." The knife in my hand wobbled. Sweat slicked my palm. The air smelled suddenly like antiseptic. Hospital clean, sharp, wrong in my living room. I forced myself to turn my head, just enough to see the dark hallway that led to my bedroom. The bedroom door stood open now, a rectangle of black. And in that black, a shape, taller than my doorframe, shifted, like a person leaning forward to look out. No footsteps, no breathing, just presence. I backed away until my shoulders hit the kitchen counter. My mind raced through options like a panicked slideshow. Windows, third floor, fire escape, in the bedroom, past the shape. Bathroom? Tiny but lockable, no window. Front door? 2 uniforms. My phone? Dead. I thought of the hospital, the code blues, the way you learn to do things with your hands even when your brain is screaming, the way you count, 1, 2, 3, compress, breathe. I forced my voice to work. "What do you want?" The shape in my bedroom didn't answer, but Officer Raines did, through the front door, as if he was the one in charge of everything. "We want you to do it right." "Do what right?" he chuckled. "Answer the door properly." A knock came, not on the front door this time. On the inside of my bedroom doorframe, tap, tap, tap. I flinched hard, almost dropping the knife. The shape in the bedroom moved closer, the darkness in the doorway thickening like ink. Then it spoke, in my voice. Not a mimic that sounded vaguely like me. My exact cadence, my exact tired rasp. "Open the door," it said from my bedroom. "It's the police." My mouth went dry. That's not me. Officer Raines's voice purred through the front door, pleased. You hear how easy it is? Words are just uniforms, too. The bedroom thing repeated, still in my voice, calmer. Open the door. You don't want trouble. The blank-faced uniform outside scraped something along the hallway carpet. That soft cardboard drag again. A box. My stomach clenched. No. Officer Raines sighed. You're making this complicated. The doorknob to my front door turned. The deadbolt clicked. Unlocked. I stared at the thumb turn. It hadn't moved. No hand had touched it. But the sound was real, and the lock was suddenly loose when I grabbed it. I twisted it frantically back to locked. It turned too easily, like the mechanism had been hollowed out. The front door pushed inward. Not much. Just enough to make the chain rattle. Officer Raines's voice came through the widening crack, intimate. See? You can't keep it closed. The bedroom thing stepped forward. It didn't come fully into the light. It stayed where shadows made it easier to be wrong. But I saw enough to make my knees soften. Its outline was close to human, but not quite. Too straight. Too rigid. Like a mannequin propped up and told to imitate posture. Its face was not a face. More like the suggestion of one under stretched fabric, smooth where features should be, except for two dim depressions where eyes might eventually form. It held something in its hands, a badge, shiny, gold-colored, catching the kitchen light. It lifted it slightly, as if offering proof. My throat tightened. No. The badge wavered like it was heavy, like whatever held it didn't understand weight. Officer Raines's voice slipped in again from the front door crack. We can make you feel safe. The chain strained as the door pushed harder. I thought of Mrs. Klein out there, calling into the hallway. I thought of her opening her own door, peering out, seeing uniforms, trusting them. I couldn't let that happen. I did something desperate and stupid. I threw my body against my own front door and screamed, as loud as my lungs could manage. Mrs. Klein, don't open your door. Silence followed. Just a heartbeat. Then, faintly, from down the hall, her voice. Mr. H? What? Officer Raines hissed my name, the first time he sounded angry. Now you've involved her. The blank-faced uniform turned its head toward the sound of Mrs. Klein's voice, then began to move away down the hall. Still no footsteps, just sliding presence. Mrs. Klein called again, closer now. Mr. H, are you all right? Should I call someone? I can't, I shouted. Stay inside. The bedroom thing spoke in my voice, mild. You're scaring her. Officer Raines added, Honey, sweet, let us handle it. The pressure on my front door eased for one horrible second, like the chain had won. Then the chain anchor ripped from the wall. Not all the way, just one screw tearing out with a sharp crack that sounded like a tooth snapping. The door lurched inward another inch. Cold hallway air breathed in. Officer Raines's face appeared in the crack, one eye visible, glinting. There we go. I stumbled backward, knife raised, useless. The bedroom thing stepped fully into my living room. The kitchen light hit it, and my brain rebelled. It wasn't wearing clothes so much as wearing the idea of my clothes, my gray hoodie, my pajama pants, arranged correctly but sitting wrong, as if the fabric didn't know what a body was supposed to do inside it. Its head tilted. My own voice came from it again, gentle. You shouldn't have opened the door. I screamed. I didn't. Officer Raines pushed the front door harder, chain plate dangling now, half attached. You did, he said calmly. You unlatched the chain. He was right. I had. For a second. for that first crack, that first mistake. The apartment felt like it had narrowed into a corridor between the bedroom thing and the front door thing, with me in the middle, like meat. Mrs. Klein's voice rose from the hall, frightened now. "Someone just knocked on my door. They said they're with you." My blood ran cold. I shouted, "Don't open it!" But then I heard her locks rattle, her chain. She was checking. She was curious. She was scared. Officer Raines's voice became soft, almost affectionate, as if he could hear my fear like music. "She trusts uniforms, Mr. Holloway. So do you." The bedroom thing stepped closer, raising the shiny badge. In the kitchen light, I could see it wasn't metal at all. It was plastic. A cheap imitation, the gold too bright, the edges too smooth. And etched across it in black letters that made my stomach flip was a word that didn't belong on any badge. Entry. The bedroom thing held it out to me like a ticket. "Show her," it said in my voice. "Then she'll open." "I'm not doing that," I rasped. Officer Raines's voice from the front door crack sharpened. "Then we'll do it for you." The bedroom thing moved faster than it should have. No run, no lunge, just suddenly there. And I felt its cold hand close around my wrist. Its grip was not strong, it was certain. My skin prickled under its touch like my nerves were being stroked the wrong way. I tried to yank free. It didn't resist. It simply didn't let go, like my wrist belonged to it now. It guided my hand, like training a child, toward the front door. "No," I choked. My feet slid across the floor as it pulled, and the knife in my other hand wavered uselessly. Officer Raines's eye watched through the crack, pleased. Down the hall, Mrs. Klein's chain rattled again, and her voice trembled. "Who is it? Mr. H?" The bedroom thing lifted my arm higher, raising the fake badge like a sign. My own voice came out of my mouth, not because I chose it, but because the sound happened, flat, wrong. "It's police." I felt bile rise. I tried to stop the words, but my throat obeyed something else. Mrs. Klein's lock clicked. The bedroom thing released my wrist, satisfied. Officer Raines whispered, "Good." From the hallway, I heard Mrs. Klein's door open. A small gasp. Then silence. No scream, no struggle. Just silence so heavy it swallowed the building. My stomach dropped into my knees. I lunged for the door, slamming my shoulder into it, trying to force it shut, trying to relock the deadbolt, trying to undo every second since 12:46. The deadbolt turned freely in my hand, spinning like a toy. Outside my door, Officer Raines's voice softened again, triumphant. "Now you understand. Doors are agreements." The bedroom thing stood beside me, head tilted, watching me panic like it was watching weather. My phone, still showing SOS, buzzed once, one tiny vibration. A notification flashed across the dark screen like a taunt. "Front door, camera. Motion detected." I didn't have a door camera. I never installed one. I stared at the notification until it faded. Then, from the hallway, a new knock came. Slow, deliberate, on my front door again. Tap, tap, tap. Not Officer Raines, not the blank-faced uniform. A third rhythm. And Mrs. Klein's voice, too close, too calm, right outside my door, whispered, "Mr. Holloway, I'm locked out. Can you open up?" Story 4. The girl on the porch who knew my safe word. The second I cracked the door, the porch light blew out with a sharp pop, and the girl standing on my welcome mat whispered, "Don't close it. He'll think you don't believe me." Cold air poured into the gap like water. I kept the deadbolt locked and my foot jammed against the bottom edge, but the door was open enough to let her voice slip in and hook behind my ribs. She couldn't have been older than 16. maybe younger. Hood up, hair stuck to her cheeks in damp strings. Her hands were bare and red from the cold, fingers shaking as she held them up, palms out, like she'd learned the universal sign for "please don't hurt me." "I'm sorry," she said fast, eyes darting past me into the house. "I'm sorry? I know it's late. I know you're not supposed to open. Who are you?" My voice sounded wrong in the dark, like it didn't belong to me. Her mouth opened, and she swallowed hard. I'm supposed to say the word." My stomach tightened. "What word?" She wet her lips, and then she said it, quiet, like she was scared of it. "Juniper. My safe word. Not a joke word, not a flirty thing, a real one. The one my therapist told me to pick after the break-in last year. The one only 3 people knew: me, my sister Camille, and Dr. Renwick. I hadn't even told the guy I'd dated for 2 months. I didn't like letting people hold keys to parts of my brain." The girl's eyes flicked to my face, searching for the reaction like she'd been trained to watch for it. "See? I'm not lying." My mouth went dry. "How do you know that?" She shook her head, frantic. "I don't have time. He's behind me." I stared into the yard. My porch looked out over a small front lawn and a cul-de-sac lined with dead winter shrubs. The streetlight at the corner buzzed. A thin fog hung low, making the pavement shine like oil. No cars, no footsteps. Just the distant hush of someone's heat pump cycling on and off. "I don't see anyone," I said. "You won't," she whispered. And the way she said it made my skin crawl, like she'd just described gravity. "Not until you let him closer." My fingers tightened around the doorknob. The metal felt too cold, too real. I could smell her. Wet cotton hoodie, cheap strawberry shampoo, and something faintly sour like fear sweat. Behind me, my living room was dark except for the glow of my phone screen on the end table. I'd been half asleep on the couch when the knock came. 3 quick knocks, then a pause, then 3 again. My brain had done the familiar calculus. Ignore it, pretend you're not home, wait it out. Then the whisper through the door had said my safe word: Juniper. That's what made me stand up. That's what made me do the one thing I promised myself I'd never do again after midnight. "Open the door." The girl pressed her hands to her chest like she was holding her heart in place. "Please," she said, and her voice cracked. "If you close it, I'm gone. If I come inside, you can lock it. You can call someone. But you have to let me cross the line." Cross the line. The threshold. My therapist used that exact phrase when she'd explained trauma boundaries, how my brain treated doors like moral decisions. My stomach twisted. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Just a fraction. Then, Mara. The name slid into my head like a fishhook. Not because I recognized it. Because it felt like it was meant to. I didn't move. I didn't invite her in. My foot stayed braced. My hand stayed on the knob. My other hand slid behind my leg, searching blindly for the pepper spray I kept in the small basket by the door. My fingers found it. I wrapped my hand around it until the plastic creaked. "Mara," I said, forcing calm, "who told you that word?" Her eyes widened, and for a second she looked genuinely confused, like no one had told her there would be questions. "The lady," she whispered. "The lady who answers the phone. She said, if I say it, you'll open." My throat tightened. "What lady?" Mara's gaze snapped to the side of my porch, toward the corner where the light didn't reach. Don't make me say her name. He'll hear." "I don't hear anyone," I said. But my voice shook. Mara leaned closer to the crack, lowering her voice. He's not loud. He doesn't have to be. He's patient. Something moved in the fog at the edge of the yard. Not a person stepping out. More like a shape deciding it had shape. I stiffened. My pepper spray hand rose slightly behind the door, hidden. Mara's breath hitched. See? My heart started hammering hard enough to make my vision pulse. I stared into the fog, trying to resolve it. Tree shadow, mailbox, a trick of headlights that weren't there. The shape didn't advance. It just remained. A darker density inside the gray. My phone buzzed behind me. I didn't look away from the yard. Mara whispered, "Don't answer your phone." "Why?" I asked. "Because he'll use it," she said, and the certainty in her voice made me nauseous. My phone buzzed again, longer this time. A call. I forced myself to glance back. Caller ID, Camille, my sister. My blood went cold and hot at once. Camille worked nights at a rehab facility. She hated calling this late unless it was urgent, unless something happened. Mara saw my eyes flick to the screen and shook her head violently. No, 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 no. The call kept buzzing. "Camille." I swallowed. "I have to." Mara's voice went sharp, desperate. "That's not her." The call stopped. Immediately, a text appeared. "Camille, don't open the door." My stomach dropped so hard it hurt. I stared at the text and my skin prickled, because I already had. Mara watched my face, reading it like a mirror. Her voice softened. "He does that. He sends messages that feel like ropes. You grab them and don't realize they're around your throat." The fog shape in the yard shifted, a subtle tilt, like it was listening. I whispered, "How do you know about him?" Mara's eyes glistened. "Because I did what you're doing." A new sound came from the street. Soft tires on wet pavement. A car creeping slowly, engine low, headlights off. It rolled past the cul-de-sac like it didn't belong, then stopped at the curb in front of my house. My pulse spiked. I couldn't see the driver through the fogged windshield. Mara's shoulders hunched. "He brought the car." My mouth went numb. "Who is he?" She shook her head again, almost pleading with herself. "If I name him, he gets closer. That's the rule." "What rule?" I snapped, then immediately regretted the volume. The yard felt like it swallowed sound and stored it. Mara flinched. "The midnight rule. If you answer, you're talking. If you're talking, you're agreeing." My hand tightened on the doorknob until my fingers ached. I didn't agree to anything. Mara's gaze slid to the crack between the door and frame. "You opened it." The fog shape moved. Not forward like a person walking, forward like a shadow being pushed by a light that wasn't there. It crossed the edge of my lawn, entering the space where the porch light used to reach. But the light was dead now, leaving only the street lamp's sick glow. Couldn't see details. Just height. Too tall, too narrow. The air on my porch changed. Pressure dropping, ears subtly popping, like weather shifting. Mara whispered, "He's here." My pepper spray hand came up. I aimed it into the crack, toward Mara's side, toward the yard beyond. My thumb hovered over the trigger. "Get inside," I whispered. "Now." Mara's eyes widened. "You'll let me?" "I'm not letting anyone stand out there," I said, and my voice shook with anger at myself as much as fear. "If you're real, you come in. If you're not, I spray you and slam the door." Mara nodded fast. Okay. She stepped closer and stopped at the threshold, like her shoes had hit an invisible line. Her face tightened, pain flashing through it. "I can't." "What do you mean you can't?" I hissed. Her hands clenched into fists. "He won't let me. I'm I'm not allowed unless you say it. Say what? Mara's mouth trembled. Say I can come in. Say my name. Say you want me inside. My stomach turned. The midnight rule again. Language as a lock. Behind Mara, the fog shape drifted closer, now at the base of my porch steps. The car at the curb idled silently. No lights, no visible exhaust, like a prop. My phone buzzed again. Another text. Unknown number. Let her in. I stared at it, then at Mara. My skin crawled with the feeling of being watched from multiple angles. Mara whispered, "Don't. That's him." I swallowed. If I don't, what happens? Mara's eyes filled. I go back. Back where? Her voice dropped to a thin thread. Behind the door. Behind someone else's. The fog shape reached the first step. A sound like fabric brushing wood drifted through the crack. Not footsteps, not breathing, just that soft, patient scrape, like a sleeve grazing the banister. Mara squeezed her eyes shut. Please. I don't want to go back. My heart hammered so hard it made my hands clumsy. I tried a different angle, logic, control, boundaries. I'm calling 911, I said. Mara's eyes snapped open, wild. It won't go through. I have cell service, I lied, because my phone still showed bars, but the texts didn't feel like normal service. They felt like someone using my number as a puppet. I raised the phone anyway, thumb hovering over emergency call. The screen flickered. For a fraction of a second, my lock screen background, me and Camille at a summer barbecue, was replaced by a grainy image. My own front door, from outside. A view looking in through the crack I'd opened. I could see my face in the gap, pale, scared. I could see Mara's hooded head from behind. The image had a timestamp at the bottom, 12:46 a.m. My stomach dropped, because it was 12:18 when this started. Unless it wasn't. The screen flickered again and returned to normal, as if it had never happened. Mara whispered, "He moves. Time when you look away." The fog shape climbed the second step. My throat went tight. I forced myself to look directly at it, to anchor reality. The shape didn't have a face I could see, but it had the idea of a face, an absence where eyes should be, like looking at a mannequin head with the features sanded down. It lifted one hand slowly, not to wave, to knock, but not on my door, on the air itself, inches from Mara's shoulder. Tap, tap, tap. Mara flinched as if the sound had struck her skin. I couldn't take it anymore. "Mara," I said, voice shaking, "come inside, now. I want you inside." The words tasted like pennies, like blood. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Mara stumbled forward, like a rope had been cut. She fell across my threshold, into my entryway, onto my hardwood floor. Her hands splayed, catching her weight. She gasped like she'd just surfaced from underwater. I slammed the door. The deadbolt clicked into place. The chain rattled as I latched it, fingers moving too fast, too desperate. I leaned back against the door, shaking, pepper spray raised. Mara sat on my floor, hood fallen back, hair plastered to her forehead. Her cheeks were streaked with tears I hadn't noticed. For a second, the house felt like a house again. Warm air, familiar smell of laundry detergent, and the lavender candle I always burned when I was anxious. Then the knock came. Not from outside, from the inside of my front door. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. Mara's head snapped up. Her eyes were huge. "No," she whispered. "No, no." The knock repeated, slightly higher on the door, as if knuckles were moving up the wood. Tap, tap, tap. I stepped away from the door, heart racing. "That's impossible," Mara whispered, voice shaking. "He followed. He can't cross unless you invite." But you invited me and... And what? I demanded. Mara's gaze flicked to the mirror on my entryway wall. I followed her eyes. In the mirror, I could see the reflection of my front door. And behind it, faint, like a double exposure, I could see the porch, the fog, the tall, narrow shape standing inches from the door. But here was the impossible part. In the mirror, the shape wasn't outside. It was inside my entryway, standing directly behind me. I spun around so fast, I almost fell. Nothing. Empty entryway. Just my coat rack and the little table with my keys and the pepper spray trembling in my hand. I faced the mirror again. The shape was still there in the reflection, closer now, its featureless face hovering behind my shoulder like a second head. Mara whispered, "Don't turn around again. He likes when you do." My stomach churned. I forced my eyes off the mirror and onto Mara. "What are you?" I whispered. Mara's lips parted, trembling. "I'm what he uses to get inside." The knock came again, this time not on the door. On my bedroom door, down the hall. Tap, tap, tap. A cold wave swept through me. Because my bedroom door was open. It was always open. I hated closed doors in my own house. Now the darkness of that doorway looked thick, like it had weight. Mara slowly rose to her feet, swaying, and I noticed something that made my skin go numb. Her socks were wet, but not with rain. They were wet with something dark, like muddy water. And the dark wetness didn't drip, it clung. Her eyes flicked to my hallway. He's making a path. My throat tightened. To what? Mara looked at me, and there was something in her expression that wasn't fear anymore. It was resignation, like she'd watched this happen too many times. "To your next door," she whispered. "The one you'll open after midnight." The knock on my bedroom door repeated. Tap, tap, tap. Then my phone buzzed. This time, it was Camille again. A call. My hands shook as I answered, putting it on speaker. "Camille?" My sister's voice came through, breathless and strained. "Don't open the door," she said immediately. "I already did," I whispered, eyes locked on Mara. Camille's voice broke. "God, okay. Listen, I'm outside. I'm in my car. I saw something on your porch. I saw you open the door. There was no girl." My blood turned to ice. Mara's head tilted slightly, like she was listening to my sister too. Camille continued, words tumbling. "You were talking to empty air. You leaned forward like someone was there and you said..." She swallowed hard. "You said juniper like you were reminding yourself." My mouth went numb. No, she's here. She's in my house." Camille's voice sharpened with panic. "Eli, there's no one. And your porch light didn't go out. It's on. I can see it." I looked at my living room lamp. It was on. Warm light pooling. I glanced at the light switch by the front door. I hadn't touched it. My eyes drifted to the mirror. In the reflection. My porch light was on. Bright. And Mara, standing beside me in my entryway, didn't appear in the mirror at all. But the tall, narrow shape did. Right behind me. Closer than before. Its hand lifted slowly in the reflection, and it placed its palm against the back of my head like it was blessing me. I didn't feel anything, but my scalp prickled as if it did. Camille's voice was urgent now, almost screaming. "Eli, get out of the house, right now. Come to my car. Do you hear me?" My legs wouldn't move. I stared at the mirror like it was the only truth. Mara whispered. So close to my ear, I felt her breath. "He wants you to turn around." The knocking on my bedroom door stopped. Silence flooded the house. Then a new knock came, from inside my closet in the bedroom. Tap, tap, tap. My heart seized, because my closet door was closed and I hadn't closed it. Mara's voice softened, almost kind. "You're going to open it?" "No," I whispered, but my body already felt like it was leaning toward the hallway. Camille's voice came through the speaker, frantic. "Eli? Eli, talk to me." I tried to answer, but my throat wouldn't form words. The mirror showed the shape's palm still on my head, guiding. Mara stepped back slightly, giving me space like a host stepping aside for a guest to enter. And then I understood the worst thing, the thing that made my stomach twist into a knot I could never untie. Mara hadn't tricked me into opening the door. I had. Because I recognized the safe word and I wanted to believe it meant safety. Because I wanted the world to have a password. I took one step toward the hallway, then another. My phone slipped from my hand, still connected, Camille's voice muffled now as it hit the floor. The closet knocked again, slower this time, like it was savoring the moment. Tap, tap, tap. I reached my bedroom doorway and stared into the darkness. My closet door, white, paneled, was closed. But the crack at the bottom was blacker than the room should allow, like the closet held a deeper night. I raised my hand toward the closet knob. Behind me, Mara whispered, almost lovingly, "This is what answering after midnight feels like." And when my fingers touched the knob, the voice from inside the closet, my sister's exact voice, perfect down to the way she said my nickname, whispered, "Eli, open the door. I'm outside." Story 5. The voicemail that knocked back. My finger was already on the latch when the voice outside my front door said, perfectly gentle, "Drew, don't look through the peephole. You'll see the part that's already inside." I stopped mid-motion, breath caught in my throat, hand hovering over the deadbolt like it was something hot. The chain hung slack because I'd taken it off earlier to bring groceries in and never put it back. A stupid, normal mistake. The hallway of my duplex was dark. Only the kitchen nightlight glowed behind me, painting my knuckles a sickly orange. The air smelled like dish soap and yesterday's coffee grounds. Outside, another knock came. Not loud, not urgent. 3 taps. Measured. Like someone who knew I was awake. Tap, tap, tap. I leaned close to the door anyway, ear near the wood, listening for breathing. I heard nothing but the soft hiss of wind through the porch railing. And far away, a dog barked once and then stopped abruptly, as if someone had covered its mouth. "Who is this?" I asked. The voice, still calm, said, "You don't want to know. You just want to fix what you did." My stomach tightened. I didn't do anything. A pause. Then the voice answered like it had been waiting for that line specifically. "That's what you told the dispatcher." My scalp prickled. I hadn't called a dispatcher tonight. I backed away from the door, heart thudding, and my heel hit something on the entry rug. My phone, face up, screen glowing as if it had woken itself. There was a voicemail notification. One new message. No missed call. Just voicemail. My throat went dry. I hadn't gotten a voicemail in months. Nobody leaves them anymore. They text, they hang up, they move on. I picked up the phone with shaking fingers and stared at the screen. Unknown caller, 12:04 a.m. Voicemail, 012. It was 12:17 now. I hadn't heard the phone ring. Outside, the voice said, "Play it." I didn't want to. The urge felt like nausea, your body insisting something is poison while your mind reaches anyway. The knocks came again, closer somehow, as if the person had shifted their stance and found a better angle. Tap, tap, tap. My thumb hovered over the voicemail. I swallowed and hit play, keeping the phone volume low. Static crackled for a second, then my own voice. Not a recording from a year ago, not a muffled old clip. My voice as it sounded right now, tired, slightly congested, with the same rasp from talking all day. "Hi," my voice said on the voicemail, breathy. I need someone to come. There's someone outside my door. He keeps knocking and..." A soft knock sounded in the voicemail audio, matching the rhythm at my actual door. Tap, tap, tap. My mouth went numb. The voicemail continued, my voice wavering like I was trying not to cry. "He knows my name. He said if I don't answer, he'll use the line." A pause, a faint hiss, then another voice, low and intimate, in the background of the voicemail. "Say the address." My voice on the voicemail whispered, "No." The other voice said, closer, "Say it." My voice trembling, 146. The voicemail cut out. It ended mid-number. The app returned to the voicemail list, and my hands were shaking so hard my thumb kept slipping on the glass. "Outside my door," the voice said, satisfied. "See? You did call." "I didn't," I whispered. My tongue felt thick. "I didn't call anyone." The voice outside replied, almost amused. "Not yet." My eyes stung. I backed into my living room, scanning it like it might have changed while I wasn't looking. Couch, TV off, the framed photo of my mom and me at a baseball game. The hallway leading to my bedroom, dark as a throat. I lived alone. My ex, Lila, had moved out 4 months ago after a fight that started small. Dishes, always dishes, and ended with her saying, "You never listen unless there's a crisis." She slammed the door so hard, a picture frame fell off the wall. After she left, the duplex felt too quiet. I started keeping a podcast on while I cooked, just to fill the space with voices that didn't require anything from me. Now the quiet felt weaponized, like it was waiting for me to make a sound so it could shape itself around it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Answer the door." Then another immediately. Or answer the phone. My pulse hammered in my ears. "What do you want?" I said toward the door, louder now, because fear was turning into anger. "Why are you doing this?" The voice didn't answer right away. Instead, there was a soft scraping sound, like someone dragging something along my porch boards. Then the voice spoke, almost tender. "You remember that night you didn't answer?" My throat tightened. A memory rose uninvited. 2 years ago, living in a different apartment, a knock after midnight. I'd been half asleep, annoyed, and I'd ignored it. The next day, there were police cars outside. A neighbor on my floor had overdosed alone, and someone, maybe him, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger, had been knocking on doors looking for help. I told myself it wasn't my fault. I didn't know. I couldn't have known. But I'd still felt that quiet shame for days, like a bruise no one could see. The voice at my door said, "He knocked on yours too." My mouth went dry. "Stop. You heard him." The voice continued, calm and relentless. "You turned the volume up. You waited for it to go away." My skin prickled with heat. I didn't know. The voice whispered, "You didn't ask." A knock came again, harder now. Not polite, not measured. A fist. Bang, bang, bang. My whole door rattled in its frame. I flinched and nearly dropped my phone. Then silence. I stood in it, frozen, waiting for the next sound, like a person waiting for the next blow. My phone buzzed. An incoming call. Caller ID. Lila. My heart lurched. It was too late for her to call. We barely spoke anymore. The last time we texted was about forwarding mail. And yet, there it was. Lila. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Outside the door, the voice whispered, "Answer." I whispered back, "No." The call kept ringing. I didn't pick up. It stopped. Immediately, another voicemail notification appeared. "Lila, voicemail 023. No missed call time, no normal log. Just a voicemail as if it had been delivered by hand. My stomach rolled. I hit play. Lila's voice filled my ear, except it wasn't. It was her tone, her cadence, the way she said my name. But it was too smooth, too clean, like a song played through a speaker that had never been used. "Drew," the voicemail said softly. "I'm outside. I forgot my key. Please open the door." A pause. Then quieter, as if she'd leaned closer to whisper into the microphone. "He's behind me." My blood turned to ice. I yanked the phone away from my ear like it burned. Outside my actual door, the voice, no longer bothering to be polite, said, "Open it. Let her in." I backed up until my legs hit the coffee table. My hand groped blindly for something, anything, and closed around the heavy glass coaster on the table. Useless, but it made me feel less empty-handed. "I'm calling the police," I said, but it sounded like a child threatening a storm. The Yar voice outside laughed softly. "You tried." My phone buzzed again. SOS. No service. The top of my screen flickered as if the bars were being erased one by one. I swallowed hard and forced myself toward the kitchen window that overlooked the street. The curtain was half drawn. I pulled it back an inch. The street was empty. No headlights. No parked car with someone inside. But my porch, visible at an angle, was darker than it should be. The porch light was on, but the light seemed to die before it reached the steps, leaving a pocket of shadow that looked thick enough to climb. And on the porch, just to the side of my door, sat an object. A phone. Old style. Landline handset. Like something from the 90s, lying on the porch boards with its cord trailing into the darkness. My stomach dropped. I didn't own a landline. Outside the door, the voice said, "Pleased? We brought you a better line." I backed away from the window, shaking. The duplex didn't have a back exit, just the front door and the windows. My bedroom window opened to a small fenced yard, but the fence gate squealed, and the yard led to another street I didn't know well. Running felt like an option that would turn me into prey. The voice outside said, softer again, coaxing, "Drew, you can make it right." "How?" I rasped. A pause, then, "Answer." My breath came fast, sharp. "Answer what?" The voice replied, simple. "The door." Another knock came, this time from inside my house. 3 taps, from the wall behind me. I whipped around so fast, I got dizzy. The living room wall was blank, just paint and a framed photo. No door, no window, no reason for knocking. Tap, tap, tap. It came again, slightly lower. My skin went numb. The sound wasn't traveling through the air. It felt like it was inside the drywall, like something on the other side was learning my layout by touch. Outside my front door, the voice whispered, delighted, "He's finding you." My mouth opened, and I sucked in air that tasted like dust. "Who is he?" The voice replied, almost bored. "The one you didn't answer." The knocking in the wall moved. Now it came from the hallway leading to my bedroom. Tap, tap, tap. I backed toward the kitchen, palms slick with sweat. The house felt smaller with every sound, like the walls were inching inward. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number? Midnight isn't a time. It's a door. Another text. You opened it. I stared at the words until my eyes blurred. I hadn't opened anything except my life to guilt years ago. The front door knob rattled. Not a test, not a jiggle. A slow turn, deliberate, like someone demonstrating that locks were optional. My deadbolt clicked, unlocked. I ran to the door and twisted the deadbolt back, heart racing. It spun too easily, like it wasn't connected to anything anymore. I slammed my palm against the door, pressing my weight into it as if I could hold reality in place. "Stop," I whispered. A voice, Lila's voice now, right outside, not through voicemail, said softly, "Drew?" My stomach lurched. It was so close it felt like her breath would fog the crack under the door. "I'm outside," she whispered. "Please." I squeezed my eyes shut. "No." "Please," she said again. And the way she said it made my chest ache, because it sounded like her on one of our bad nights, tired and sad and trying. Then a second voice layered over hers, lower, intimate. "Open the door for her." I opened my eyes and looked at the peephole. I didn't want to, but my body did it like reflex. I leaned in. The porch light glared, overexposed through the fisheye lens. For a second, I saw nothing but white. Then the image adjusted. There was someone standing on my porch. A woman's silhouette, head bowed slightly. Lila's height, Lila's hair length. But the face, when she lifted it toward the peephole, was wrong. Not monstrous, not deformed, just unfinished. Like someone had taken her features and softened them, erased sharp edges, smudged the details until she was more like an impression of her than a person. She smiled anyway. Her mouth didn't quite match the smile. And behind her, just over her shoulder, something tall and narrow leaned forward into the porch light, but the light didn't touch it. It stayed black, like a cutout of night. The tall shape's head tilted. Then it lifted one hand and knocked, not on my door, but directly on the peephole glass. Tap, tap, tap. I stumbled back, choking on a sound that was half sob, half laugh. The voice outside, no longer pretending to be anyone, said calmly, "That's the part that's already inside." The knocking came again, now from my bedroom closet. Tap, tap, tap. I stared down the hallway. My bedroom door was open. The closet door was closed. The crack beneath it was darker than the room should allow. And the knocking kept repeating, the same rhythm as the door, the same rhythm as the voicemail. Like the house itself had learned a language and was speaking it back at me. My phone buzzed one more time. A new voicemail. "Unknown caller, 006. I didn't press play. It played anyway. Speakers suddenly blasting the sound into my living room. My voice, again, whispered, exhausted and defeated. "I'm answering now." Outside my front door, the fake Lila whispered, sweet as syrup, "Good." The deadbolt clicked. Unlocked. The doorknob turned. And from inside my closet, inches from where my clothes hung, a matching doorknob I didn't own turned too, as if my house had grown a second front door in the dark and decided to open both at once.